Loving greetings to you, and this is where people write in. These are real people writing into real counselors and at the Marriage Foundation, and you can too, even if you don't take one of the courses. So here we go. The title of this is, Are These Assumptions About Husbands and Wives Right? So the client writes, this is a man, thank you. I've already learned quite a bit from the course, but I do have a follow-up set of questions. No excuses, just trying to align on expectations and want to clarify whether or not this impacts the lessons at all. This is really a good way to address somebody. This guy's a good speaker. He's a good communicator. 1, Paul makes the assumption that men teach their wives to be aggressive. I make the comment. It's not always true, but it's often true. In my case, that's just simply untrue. I doubt it. I am not denying that I haven't reacted aggressively at times. Aha! But my wife was fairly aggressive early on. If she can be, so can I. It's not my fault. And she certainly didn't learn it from me. I'm innocent. Female, I'm not making fun of this guy. What I'm trying to do is point out, and we don't come from a psychological perspective here at the Marriage Foundation. The psychologists could go on for years with this couple. We don't do that. We cut to the chase. We get you on the path to love, happiness, and harmony. We don't bother with all this crap. But it's interesting. But I stopped in the middle for a reason. I didn't want you to get sucked in, because that's what happens. I'm going to explain that later on so that you understand what I'm talking about and why it's so important. I'm not denying that I haven't reacted aggressively at times. Never react aggressively, and we teach you how to never. But my wife was fairly aggressive early on. No excuse. And she certainly didn't learn it from me. Females can be just as aggressive as men, if not more so. Whoa, that is true. Aggressiveness is not just a man's quality. Whoever said that? I certainly never did. So it seems to me this is an underlying assumption throughout all the content. Would you prefer I address this one first, or go on to number 2 and then go back to number 1? Okay, I'll give you number 2 also. Paul dismisses abuse in one of his videos using the analogy of our children kicking us, yet we dismiss it. Hell no. I do not ever dismiss abuse. Ever. However, the context of the word abuse is so easily put into the framework that the one who thinks they're being abused wants it to be in. So what I do is I talk about how you receive whatever aggression or negativity is coming at you. Reframe it. You don't need to be a victim. That's the point. Victims are made by the victim. Doesn't mean that some people aren't so aggressive that you can't help but be a victim. But you know, when I was a kid, I learned karate. You know what the very first move we learned in self-defense was? I still remember some of it. Run away. You don't have to be a victim. You can get out of the situation. That is the point. Better than running away is not allowing the mind to get caught in this conflictive situation. We do not learn it, but the best use of free will is to control our mind. We have free will, not the mind. We'll get into that later. So anyway, yes, I use this analogy of our children kicking us, yet we dismiss it. Yeah, sometimes we even see it as cute. Although I've been kicked and it's not always cute. I understand his point here, but I think abuse has many, many layers and levels Duh. For example, early on our marriage, now, here's the thing. Everybody wants to tell their story. It is one of the ways our mind distracts us from what we actually need to do as it goes into our stories. Early on our marriage, my wife physically hit me. She stopped that since we got her family involved. Wrong way to get her to stop. But she still continues to yell viciously at me at times to the point she scares the kids. Wait, why are you dragging the kids into this? You don't like it, so you're going to use the kids on our counselor to back you up. Okay, this is traumatic for the kids. Yeah, I'm fine with it. But the poor kids. Not so much for me. By the way, I'm going to interrupt myself. I don't put up with BS. I used to meet with men and women individually when I met with them, and our counselors will do the same with you. And I always met with men, if they were more on the macho side, in public places. Because I have no problem calling people on their stuff, and I don't want to get a black eye in a session, in a marriage counseling session. I don't have a problem calling people on their stuff. It's so easy to blame your husband. It's so easy to blame your wife. You're responsible for you. We're not taught this, by the way. I'm not blaming you for all of this. On the contrary, I understand. I grew up this way too. I used to be a divorce mediator. I only got into marriage counseling because a couple asked me to help them. And when I did a deep into marriage, my mind was blown with how much BS is out there, how irrelevant marriage counseling was, except for ours, and how infantile people can become. I saw it because I was a divorce mediator, and I saw what people fought over. It used to blow my mind. We are amazing human beings. We are above our petty differences. We are above our little sensitivities, but we have to define ourselves in that way. This is what we teach. This is what we help people with. And the people we teach have the most amazing marriages. And it doesn't matter how bad things are now. We have people where the wife, and it's always past the point of no return. Well, 95% of the time. We always save those marriages by teaching the one who comes to us, because it's an individual pursuit to save your marriage. This whole idea of couples counseling is nonsense. Couples counseling doesn't work. Even with our courses, we tell people you can save your marriage yourself. If your wife or your husband then wants to take the course because they are amazed at the changes within you, you can add them. It's a huge discount to do so. But you alone can change your marriage. It's an amazing thing, marriage. It's an amazing way we have learned how to save the marriages and turn them into what they're supposed to be. This is traumatic for the kids. Big deal. Not so much for me, but for them it's different. Not big deal, like, who cares about the kids? You should never fight in front of your kids. And I don't think Paul addresses kids' experiences in his videos. Actually, I do, towards the end. Because by then, well, you should understand, you're married to your wife or your husband. You're not married to your kids. They're part of your family, but you're there to protect them. I literally got into this to protect kids. I did. And I knew the best way to protect kids, to help kids, is to create a loving environment for them. But I do not get into all of the psychological mumbo jumbo around it. I'd rather work on the cure, not the defining, not the psychological issues. I'm not going to get into all her craziness. Oh, I just did a video on craziness. But I do want to make sure I articulate my experience to see whether these particular scenarios have been taken into consideration as Paul developed this content. Our focus is not on all of the problems, all of the issues, all of the psychological deformities that all of us have. I'm not perfect. I've been doing this stuff for a long time. I've been meditating since 1972. I've been doing a lot of self-work. I'm still imperfect. Wow. Can you imagine? So the thing that we do work on, that is important, that does matter, is learning how to cultivate love, learning how to love your spouse unconditionally, learning what obstacles are preventing you from doing so. And you may say, and legitimately you may say and believe, no, I love my spouse. You kind of hesitate with unconditionally because, well, they do this and they do that. Well, that's not unconditional love anymore. If you're holding back because of, there are no legitimate because ofs. But we don't know that we're not our mind. We think we're our mind. That's what's been fed to us our entire lives, because way back, Sigmund Freud decided that we are the mind. He doesn't come out and say so, but he might as well have. He defines the mind as the id, the ego, superego, and all this nonsense. He completely misses the soul. I am a soul. You are a soul. You and your spouse are soul mates. Your soul, you don't have a soul. You are a soul. You have a body. You can't dispute that. You don't even want to dispute that. I have a body, right? Who's the I? It's not the mind, because I have a mind. Really? Do you control it? Do you monitor it? Do you tell it how to think? Do you tell it when to stop thinking about something and start thinking about something else? Do you tell it to step aside? I want to experience myself as love. Do you ever do that? No, we're not taught that. And that's what the Marriage Foundation is teaching. So going back to the first part, he makes the assumption that men teach their wives to be aggressive. There's a cause and effect factor. It's a law. Creation is comprised of laws. You can't defy them and get away with it. You can't defy gravity. Isaac Newton laid it out. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. If you're a mean son of a gun to your husband or to your wife, they're going to react. Their minds are going to react, and we call it them. That's all. And so men tend to be more external in their defenses, and they come out aggressively, so the wives tend to also react in that way. That's all I'm saying in that. It is totally true. You can't deny it. So I don't mean that men sit down with their wives and go, okay, now I'd like to teach you about aggression. No, I'm talking about the way they are creates in their wives the reaction, unless the wife has learned how to step back from her mind and control it. Here's the good news. Whether you're the wife or the husband, you alone can break the cycle of all these negative things. The arguing, because this guy happens to use screaming, blah, blah. They're arguing. You can get extreme and call it screaming. You can say raising my voice, raising my temper, blah, blah, blah. It's arguing. There's this saying out there that psychologists like to use to pretend that they did everything they could to save the marriage, but it takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. Bull. It takes two to tango in an argument, but it doesn't take two to tango in saving your marriage. You alone, whether you're the wife or the husband, you alone have the power not just to save your marriage, not just to improve your marriage, but to put it on the rails that it is meant to be on. Marriage is meant to be amazing. I'm not the only one who says that. You know who else says that? We've had thousands of people take our courses for almost 23 years, and they will tell you My wife was out the door. My husband was out the door. It was our last hope coming to the Marriage Foundation because a friend told me about it. My clergy told me about it. I heard the testimonials, whatever, but they took the course and now their marriage is like amazing. Amazing, not just good. And it's because we follow the laws of the universe. It's scientific, it's methodical, it's process-oriented, but it's focused on learning how to love unconditionally. That's where it's at. Many people, they just buy the book. And then we see them 2 years later, they buy the course. Fine, that's what, whatever you want to do. But I'll tell you this, you're not going to get there just by watching these videos, although some people have. If you read a lot of the comments, some people say, oh, you've turned my marriage around. I'm happy about that. And that really defines the degree of how deep of a hole they had gotten themselves into before they found us at the Marriage Foundation. We're here for you. I am here for you. And I am the one who founded the Marriage Foundation. I'm Paul Friedman. I hope you subscribe to the channel. I hope you liked the video. I hope to see you again. And if you want to become a marriage counselor under the umbrella of the Marriage Foundation, learn our methods, our techniques, our processes, it's something that doesn't exist out there. Gottman out there has created a bunch of marriage counselors, and he's good. It's not as good as us, but he's good because he has understandings between the couple. We don't even need that. Our process is much better. So look into becoming a TMF marriage counselor. We really own it. And we're the way to go. In the future, we're going to be it. God bless you. I'm glad you came by. Leave a comment, leave a like. Take care. God bless you. Bye-bye.